Hey Wes, how you doing?
Very well, how are you?
I'm doing okay. So, this is, we talked about this potentially being one of our last sessions. Maybe, a couple more after this. And that we were gonna really dig into making a plan, based on all that you and I have talked about before. But I think it might be helpful if we kind of summarize a little bit about kind of where we've come and where we're going.
Sure.
I know that you really came because you were dissatisfied with kind of your life space situation, particularly with work. You had changed jobs and you weren't working directly with people like you were before, and that's not really your sweet spot. That's not, particularly based on your strong value of really helping others, being concerned for others. But then we also discovered that in terms of your spiritual development, your own spiritual life, that you haven't been able to really make a lot of time for that. And maybe that's leading more towards the dissatisfaction, even more so than maybe the job. Does that seem accurate?
Very much so.
Okay. Is there anything else you would add to that kind of summary?
Not in particular. I mean, that covers a lot of it. It's just, a lot of it initially was, I didn't realize how much I was going to miss working just hands-on with people. That was definitely a benefit of my old job, but I thought that was something I was willing to sacrifice, and I just didn't realize that it was such a big value for me. And I honestly didn't know how I felt about lacking that time for my spirituality until I kind of talked about it, and it just kind of came up. So
Sure.
I'm not really sure how those are related, but I think they're just both kind of components of just a general dissatisfaction.
Okay, yeah. And, I can't remember if we've talked about the potential of you changing jobs again. Is that something that's possible for you right in the moment, or?
It's going to be eventually. I'm starting an internship for my counseling program in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to transition out of this job.
I see.
But prior to this, I kind of felt like I made a commitment, and it wasn't, and I valued that a lot. So it's not something I wanted to go back on.
I understand.
So even though I was dissatisfied, I felt like I made a commitment I kind of needed to stick with.
Okay. And it's working itself out in the next month or so, the next few weeks anyway. Okay, so then the goal then is the goal to kind of increase time that you spend in your own spiritual journey? Yeah,
that's definitely one of my goals. And kind of like the job working itself out, I'm hoping that's going to work itself out in the next couple of weeks with transitioning out of this job into my internship. It should be hopefully just a little less time, but I would like to not just leave it up to chance. I kind of like to have more of a plan and just have something to do instead of just hoping that it works itself out.
Okay. Well, that makes sense based on what we talked about with your personality type with the J, like having a plan.
Yeah.
You like sticking to that plan.
Very much so.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's make a plan. So the overarching main goal right now is for you to be able to intentionally work on your own spiritual growth and development. Okay. Let's just talk about what that might look like. What are some things that you might do to work on that?
Sure. Previously, I had spent a lot of time doing church activities, going on mission trips, just spending time in that kind of community. And I haven't had, I guess in the last few years, I just haven't had what I felt like is the time to commit to that.
Yeah.
Maybe the resources. But I think I could make little small adjustments. I used to wake up early in the mornings and I would read my Bible. That was very good for me, and it's a great way to start my day. But when I started this new job, I had to get up earlier, and it was a little bit more difficult for me to sacrifice that more of my sleep. And then I had class right after that, and it was more difficult to kind of incorporate that into my day.
Sure.
And then it just kind of got pushed to the wayside, and more things got left behind. And here I am feeling dissatisfied because I realize now that was a big part of my routine and my morning and my plan, kind of like you said. And I sacrificed it, and I would like to find time to get it back, I think.
Okay. So that kind of And let me check something. I'm assuming that based on the things that you said that you're Christian. Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't assuming wrong. So one of the things that you want to do in terms of reaching that goal, one objective then would be to read the Bible more, like you used to. But you can't do it in the morning like you used to, or at least not at the same time.
Right.
So what are some ideas of how you might incorporate that in your current life?
Sure. What I've tried to do is at my job I get 30 minutes for lunch. So usually what I do is I'll pack a lunch in the morning and then I'll eat quickly, and then sometimes I just read at work.
Okay.
Because it's easy for me and I'm there, and it's a nice little break. So I think that's kind of a nice way of being able to kind of harmonize my my work life and my personal life, and it helps with a little bit of that dissatisfaction.
Okay.
In general. So I guess finding more time like that, just more little moments in my day where I can peel off just a little bit for myself, and what I feel like I need would be beneficial. I have trouble finding those, I guess.
Okay. So sometimes at work you can do it. Okay. What about what times, like days that you're not at work?
I feel like I'm always at work, which is
okay.
Which is one of the problems. I work Monday through Friday, and then normally on the weekends I use those to catch up on school, or see my wife, or my family, and it's just a time constraint.
Okay.
So just finding that time.
Well, let's think about this for a moment, and this will help me too. What does it really mean to you to read the Bible? What does it do for you?
It brings me a level of peace that I feel like I can't get in other ways.
Okay.
And like I said, it's just something that I've noticed is missing, just that part of my spiritual life.
Yeah.
That I wish that I wouldn't have had to sacrifice. Maybe not have had to sacrifice, but I could have found a way to keep that, in my work life, in my school life, and my whole life space.
Okay.
But yes, it's a good sense of peace. I always feel like I'm more anxious if I can't incorporate it in, which I'm not sure if I feel that anxiety because of my my job dissatisfaction, or not being as much into my spiritual life as I want it to be. I think it's all really kind of coupled together.
Yeah, sounds like it is. Particularly if, like you said, like it seems like spirituality is kind of at the core of you. So your dissatisfaction in certain areas of life may stem from that anyway. Yeah. Okay. So do you just read, or do you take notes, or?
Oh, I usually read and take notes, and just spend time praying or meditating. Just kind of whatever feels good at the time.
Okay. And do you feel like that you have to have like a certain amount of time to do it?
I used to take an hour every morning, but now I just steal whatever I can.
Okay.
And I'm not as happy about that, but I'm just delighted whenever I can have, like I said, 15 minutes at lunch or 30 minutes at lunch, or just whenever. I'm not too picky about my time anymore.
Well, I imagine that would be challenging for you, Wes, too, because you like to have the schedule.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it was very important.
So it's probably challenge if you're thinking about liking to have the schedule and the time, and having to kind of throw in time to read the Bible. That seems like that would cause a lot of dissatisfaction. Okay. Well, perhaps we should talk more about really look at your schedule, and then since you don't necessarily have an hour every day, think about what your expectations might be and how you might be able to get something out of it for much shorter periods of time, but still on a daily basis.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan.